All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakar Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Excuse me. This is going to be a video on what the Bible says about a woman's menstrual cycle. And before I start reading the law on a woman's menstrual cycle, right, I'm going to go into how ultimately this cannot be kept properly, perfectly in the current society that we live due to you requiring due to requiring extra land and stuff like that, and you need like certain ability to keep this particular law will require extra finances to keep such things, right? But one of the reasons I'm going to read this scripture and read this law is because a lot of women in this world are hypocrites, right? And they love to always use the Bible and scriptures to monitor things that they think men are supposed to be doing all the time, right? And they like to try and not talk about the things that they're supposed to be doing. But in this world, and when you read the Bible and read certain laws and what women are supposed to be doing, they don't try and go out of their way to do these things, right? This is Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 19. And if a woman have an issue and her issue be in her, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever touch of her shall be unclean until the evening, right? Or it says until the even, which means the evening, right? So a woman that is on a menstrual cycle, right? She's unclean. She's meant to be kept away from the rest of the people for 7 days. She's supposed to be by herself. Now, in women like attention so much in this world that they would never want to do that, right? They complain about, oh, I don't want to cook and clean for no man. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to do that for no man and all of that. Well, according to the scriptures of the Bible, it's lawful for you to be given at least 7 days out of every single month where that's actually what happens. That's actually lawful when you're on your menstrual cycle for you to have that seven days off, right? Every single, and how many days does that end up totaling over a year, man? How many days out of a year then does that end up being? How many? What's the total amount of days that ends up being out of a year then? When you consider that law, and I'm not gonna do the maths in the top of my head right now, but I'll do it after this video, man. But it's whatever 7 times 12, man. 7 times 12. So what's that? Man, my badass maths, man. 7 times 12, what? It's like 90, I think. 7 times 12 is like Salakia, man. Maybe I ain't the best at maths right now, man. But 7 times 12 will give you the answer. But I'm focusing on this anyway right now. But it's gonna bother me that I didn't give the proper answer. But I believe it would be 90, but I'm not too sure off the top of my head right now, man. Salakia, I apologize. But I'll put it in the bottom of the lesson anyway. What 7 times 12 would be, so that people will be able to know the answer, man. All right, now anyway, it says, and everything that lieth upon her, and everything, and whosoever touches her shall be unclean to the evening. So if a man lies with a woman, then he's unclean to the even if he lies in the bed with her, not even intercourse. If he lies in the bed next to her, if he touches anything that she sat down on, if he sits on the same chair as her, he's unclean. If he touches the same remote control for the TV, he's unclean. If he touches the same handle that she's touched, he's unclean. So when she's under that 7 days, while a woman's like that, she's making everything dirty. She's making everything that she touches unclean. So she's supposed to be put away from everyone for 7 days. Now, what do women in this world do? Women in this world be on their menstrual cycle and they'll go gym. You understand? They'll go gym. They'll go to the nightclub and start raving. And here's another thing that women don't want to talk about that they'll try and do. They'll try and pull it on their man even more when on their menstrual cycle in this world, man. They'll try and pull it on their man. Oh, when I get on this season, it really makes me even more want you. Well, that's gross. So back up, man. But that's what women in this world do. That's what men in this world do, man. Women in this world do that. And once upon a time in most men's life, they've heard a woman, I'm assuming, I'm not saying that the woman that they're with now is saying it. I'm not saying that that's happened to me with nobody like right now. But once upon a time in a man's life, he's heard a woman say something along those lines, I'm sure. That's what happens in this world, man. And when you look at all the things that people are talking about on their podcast, they go even further than that, man. And I'm gonna say this, man. Sarnetta, he had somebody on his videos, right, that was promoting doing that. And they was trying to teach the scriptures. And he had somebody on his channel promoting doing that, man, promoting dealing with your woman while she's on her menstrual cycle. And people can call me a liar, but the video is out there. I can't remember exactly the person's name, but Sarnetta had somebody on his videos where he promoted that out there, man. He did that. He done it. But according to the scriptures, that's off. And that person was trying to teach the script. Now, this isn't something that Sarnetta necessarily is in the wrong for bringing that person on there because he don't care about the scriptures anyway. But the person that was on talking about the scriptures, he was wrong in promoting that that's something that's okay to do. And he was basically trying to promote witchcraft, man, when he actually was really listening to the madness that was spewing out of his mouth. But anyway, let me carry on reading. And everything that lieth upon her, and everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. So if you lie next to a woman in the bed while she's on that time, you've been made unclean. Now, when women are on their menstrual cycle, do they try and get away from men in this world in general? Do they try and get away from their own man that they live with, as in just not being around him in the house and like maybe going to a different room? Do they try and do that for the most part? No, they don't try and do that. Most of you women that say that you're Israelites and most of you women that say that you're Christians, you don't do that. You're trying to hide that you're on that time and want to be around everyone in that time. But then at the same time, women like to complain about how they have to do too much work this and have to do too much work that. But according to the scriptures, that 7 days when you'd be unclean, you would be able to go and do whatever you want to do in that time, but you'd have to do it by yourself, right? You'd have to do it by yourself. And in that time, you'd be able to be by yourself and learn and understand you. And that, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, but that's one of the reasons why women in this world are so bugged out, man. Because they're around people too much all the time. They need to have that humility of being by themselves every now and again. Which Yahweh says that amount of time that they're supposed to be by themselves is 7 days out of every single month. 7 days out of every single month for their whole life. This isn't something that's going to stop being existing in the kingdom. Women are still going to have this time frame in the kingdom. It don't, and if someone can prove otherwise, show it. Does it say that women are no longer going to have a menstrual cycle when they're changed and they're made from incorruptible to from corruptible to incorruptible? When they change from being mortal to immortal? When they change from being earthly to spiritual? Are they no longer going to have a menstrual cycle? Or is this law still going to be in effect to where the women are going to naturally put themselves apart from their men so that they don't make us be unclean? But then if we were to be unclean, there would be laws to that anyway. So even if a woman was to be around her man when she's unclean, which they wouldn't do that, but if they was, well then the law still would be followed that we'd be unclean for that amount of time. Verse 21, and whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and will be unclean to the even. So if it does happen in the kingdom, that's what will be done, right? That's what will be done, man. But the woman's supposed to put herself apart for 7 days, and in the kingdom of heaven, they will. But in the odd chance where whenever it does happen where a man touches something that a woman's touched that makes him unclean, he's gonna know through the spirit that he's unclean. He's gonna wash himself, bathe himself in water, and he's gonna be unclean until the evening. And then after that, he's clean again. That's what's gonna happen. But in this world, for all you women out there that you always using the scriptures and trying to pull fake precepts to try and talk about men can't have multiple wives, what about this for you? How many of women out there have been on your menstrual cycle, right? And then you're just being a demon and you go on the leg, you go to the gym, yeah? And you're on the abductor machine or something, clamming it off. Just straight on the abductor machine, clamming it off, opening your legs like some clams. Open your legs all wided off, yeah? Going on the hamstring curl machine and that, yeah? Going on the leg press machine, just on cleaning up the whole gym, man. And then doing a damn 1 kilometer sprint on the treadmill. We're knowing damn well that you got no business being in the gym right now because you're unclean. How many of you women have did that? And then some of you women are so gross that you feel the need to let everyone know around you, oh man, I'm having a bit of a heavy cycle here. We don't want to know that information. We don't want to know that. You understand? Men getting told about a woman's menstrual cycle is the same as disgustingness as us knowing that you need to go to the toilet to do a heavy duty number 2. We don't want to know about that, right? Keep that to yourself. That's why you're supposed to be put apart 7 days. That's why. And it would allow you women to not be so bugged out, because in them time when you women want, all them time when you women want to be slouches and you want to wear them comfortable shorts and them comfortable clothes that look gross, that your man can't stand. Yeah, them clothes that you women having that you keep, them overly comfortable clothes that are dry and dirty and all that, and you want to do all the bugged out stuff that you want to do and you want to lounge around. Well, that would be the things that you'd be able to do freely and nobody would even have to know about any of it when you're unclean for 7 days. All them things that you women like to do where you're just being bugged out, all the things where you want to try on outfits and try different looks and try different makeup in all these different ways, those would be all the things that you'll be able to do on them 7 days when you're unclean. And here's the thing, man. Also, as Israelite men, we can look into the scriptures and see these things and see these laws, and we can start to begin to understand why it is that Yahweh put these things in there. But all you women want to seem to be worried about is that men want to have multiple wives, when that's something that Yahweh says that we can do. But you women haven't said, you know what, I want to, when I'm on my menstrual cycle, not have to go to work, and that's something that I look forward to not having to do in the kingdom. How comes you women haven't thought about that? Why are you women so worried about what things we desire to want to do in the kingdom? And really, let's be real, the multiple wives thing, really, if we could get away with doing it now and it wasn't going to be a hindrance on our and potential this chance of us losing our salvation, we'd all want to do it now. If we had the finances and the ability to do it right now, we'd all want to do it now. But it's something that we know for a fact we're going to be able to do in the kingdom, and we're going to do it. But how comes you women out there have not thought about things that you desire to do in the kingdom? Why is that? Why have you not thought about, man, in the kingdom, I want to be able to do this. Excuse me. In the kingdom, I want to be able to do that. You always just trying to worry about what you want to do. And I'm going to say it again, us as men, we can look at these laws and we'll think, okay, I understand why it says that women are supposed to do that. Because women have like when you read, let me go to it, man. Let me go to it. Here we go. Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 10. Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that she shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands. And when you carry on reading through all of these things, the women, in their proper righteous order, do a lot of things, Like the woman actually has a large responsibility of the things that she's supposed to do, right? To where Yahweh's having mercy on these women when 7 days in every single calendar month, right, according to the moon cycle phase, the woman would be unclean and therefore unable to do some of these things. And that also takes me into then, okay, a man's supposed to have multiple wives? Because when you calculate that maths that I gave you then of 7 times 12, right? 7 times 12, whatever 7 times 12, which I think I said it was like, I said whatever number it was, and I think I was wrong, but Salakia, man, my mind's not on doing the maths right now off the top of my head, man. If I took enough time, I'm sure I'd be able to give the answer of the exact number of days that it is, but it's roughly like between 80 and 90 days. Let's just say it's around that amount of days that a woman will be unclean for 7 days. So a husband that's with his woman for then, and let's say there's a man that's got just one woman. Okay, well then that's then 80 days that he can't deal with her because she's unclean, right? And then when you also factor in the scriptures that when a woman gives birth to a male child or a woman child, I believe that the woman's then unclean for 40 days if it's a male child, and 80 days if it's a female. So then that would be like about either 120 days roughly, give or take a few days, to 160 days, give or take a few, which is now going into like more than a third of the year, man. So then according to what women think then, a man's supposed to not deal with his woman and get his physical needs met according to the law, right? Based off from his woman for a whole third of the year then. They'd be down for that. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't care then. You see what I mean? They'd be like, well, so what if he ain't? But according to the Lord, how it says that a man's allowed another wife. But women don't, whenever they think about the things in the Bible, they never want to think about it from, oh, I wonder why a man would, why it says that a man's supposed to have this. They never think about it from that. But you already seen me earlier view it from the woman's perspective of, okay, I understand why Yahweh gives a woman 7 days out of every single month off from having to do them large amount of tasks that she's responsible for according to her family. That's actually a mercy that Yahweh is given to you women in that time. But you women look at it as a punishment because you're proud, right? You actually look at it as though, oh, if I end up being put off from 7 days, then that means that that's because you're being proud. Why you think of it that way? Right? Let me carry on reading Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 22. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sit upon shall wash his hands and bathe himself in water and shall be unclean until the evening. And if it be on her bed or anything whereupon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the evening. So women ain't supposed to be on their menstrual cycle just gallivanting all through the cities, right? Making everything unclean. And the damn sure not supposed to be in gyms doing that. The damn sure not supposed to be in places where people eat and drink doing that. And the thing is, if you women was being honest about it, when you're on your menstrual cycle, you don't want to be in them places. You don't really want to be there. If you was being honest, you really would rather not be there. Especially when it goes to an extreme amount when you go through that. You don't really want to be there. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days. So he becomes as unclean as she was if he does decide to actually sleep with her, as in intercourse. He's unclean the same amount of time as she was if he does that. And she and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if a woman if I'm wrong about how I just read that law, somebody say, right? But it clearly says it right there. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, meaning that her menstrual cycle is gone upon his loins, he shall be unclean 7 days. And there's clearly a difference between verse 24 and verse 21, because it says whoso toucheth her bed. So that's him sleeping next to her in the same bed, versus him actually having intercourse with her. And then he becomes the same amount of unclean for days as what she is now, if he does that. And all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if any woman have an issue of her blood, and if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall she be as the days of her separation, she should be unclean. So let's say a woman's menstrual cycle doesn't end up, and she ends up having it longer than, let's say it goes past when the menstrual cycle begins, it goes the 7 days, but she's still got the blood issue. Well, then now it carries on past the extra days, man, and them days get added on. That's what it's saying, man. And does that not happen to women? To you women out there, some of the times, if you were being honest, does that not happen? Have some of you women out there, when you might have been in secondary school, high school, whatever, had a more than out of normal menstrual cycle, to where you probably couldn't even go to school or couldn't go to work, couldn't go to studies or whatever? Has that not happened? Has it not happened to you? And according to the laws of the Bible, you're allowed to be put off to where you receive a mercy because of that time. But in order for these things to take place, certain financial situations are needed to make the ability to have this. And this is also another reason why how you can prove that women are not supposed to be in charge, because you can't be in charge of the society and then every single month you got 7 days where you're unclean and you have to be separated from everyone. That ain't gonna work, is it? It's not your position to be in our position, and it's not our position to be in your position. And this is a perfect law to bring out, to show that you women don't really understand what it means to be like how you are. You women in this world, they really know that they that they like I don't know, man, like they know that the things that they actually trying to fight for are wrong, and they're just still being demons about it, man. It's really, it's proper hypocritical how some of these women in this world have did things, man. They know that when they're on their menstrual cycle, that they really don't want to be doing certain things, but because they're demons and they want to try and be men so badly, they've gone around things, and Esau's made different witchcraft potions and all these things to allow women to not even experience the menstrual cycle no more through different pills and stuff that they take. But according to the laws, Yahweh gave you women mercy from in that time when you be apart. And then in them 7 days, you can do all the feminine things, all the little things that you want to do, that your little things that you've got going on, where you want to slouch around and all the things that you do. And you'll be able to do them 7 days somewhere else, right? And nobody would even know about that. That would be your own secret between you and Yahweh. Your own, and then you'd get the 3 days again that you do all the things that would be your duties according to your family. And then you'd have the 7 days again off. That would be your own mini holiday from having to do some of your own responsibilities, man. And then maybe you, I mean, if you had it like that, wouldn't complain about how your life's so hard so much, even though really your life's the easiest on the earth, even easier than children's lives. Women's lives are even more easy than children, because when a woman's over her household and ain't no father there, she's like a damn tyrant over the children a lot of the time, man, and pours her emotions onto the children, and even doesn't have accountability with her own children in a lot of cases. And that's why the so-called black community is so through. Because then in the household, there ain't nobody that can tell the woman nothing, because she ain't going to accept hearing nothing from her children, because she wouldn't even accept nothing from hearing nothing from their father. Let me carry on reading this. Leviticus chapter 15 verse 26. And every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation, and whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean, and as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water, and be unclean unto the evening. And if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number herself 7 days, and after that she shall be unclean. So let me correct something that I said earlier about if the days of the uncleanness runs extra, you start the 7 days again from that time. So then it goes 7 days from when she has the issues cleansed off. If that makes sense, man. You begin the 7 days to where she becomes unclean now, to where she becomes clean from when the issues stopped, the extra days of the issues stopped. So then you start the 7 days from that point. Let me carry on. And you know what? In the kingdom, we're going to properly understand even deeper this law then. But as men now, we can just see certain of these laws and we can understand, okay, I understand why this thing is not supposed to take place. For example, the law on a woman being given nothing when she leaves her husband, that she's supposed to leave empty-handed. We can understand that law now, because when we look at how women are taking advantage of that law now, with the whole child support thing and crazy spousal support things that women are using to take advantage and trying to make it like it costs £10,000 a month to look after a newborn that doesn't even ever, a newborn baby from like 0 months old to like 9 months does not do anything apart from sleep all day. Really? They begin to start being able to kind of look like they can walk and kind of move around from like 6 to 9 months. Because we know how Israelites get down. Israelites can walk from like 9 to 10 months, man. Right? Once Israelites get to like 9 to 10 months, they are already walking. And by the time they get to like 11 to 12, like to 12 and a bit, they can damn near run. Right? That's how Israelites do things. I don't know how it goes with these other nations, but it's normal among Israelites to be able to walk from like 9, 10 months old. Right? Let me carry on reading. Verse 29. And on the eighth day she shall take unto her 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the priest shall offer one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for her before Yahweh for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they lie not in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is among them. And there's even laws about when a man slept with a woman anyway that he's supposed to clean off all the sheets and that. Which that like mate, you had this recent thing where this woman dealt with 101 men in 14 hours. You think that she cleaned them sheets after dealing with every single one of those men? No, she didn't. And we can see based on the laws of Yahweh why women ain't supposed to be dealing with multiple men. And women know themselves. Women know themselves that they're not supposed to deal with multiple men and they're not supposed to do things like that because they don't want to ever admit what their body count is. Women, when they lie about their body count, they're gonna lie about their body count to make it be a shorter number, a smaller number, right? And men, if men was to lie about their body count, would they lie about their body count being a lower number, or would they lie to make the number seem more? And would women be more impressed if a man's body count number is a low number, or would they be more impressed if it's a large number, which shows that women actually really desire men that have more than one wife, and they desire men that are attractive to more than one woman. And this lesson's not even about that law per se, but it's a good thing to prove, to go into, that women like to always want to monitor the laws to do with men. But what about the laws to do with you? Most of you women, you don't go out of your way to not want to do things when you're on your menstrual cycle. You'll want to go out of your way to do things, and you'll be on your menstrual cycle and go to the club, sitting down, having men buy you drinks and all stuff, all different kind of things. And then if the man tries to pull it on you, you'll be, oh, sorry, I can't do anything. I'm on my, you know what I mean? And then he'll be thinking, well, why the hell are you even out here? What? And he'd be right in saying that. He'd be right in thinking that. In Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 16, and if any man's seed of his copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the evening. Which is also why you're not supposed to deal with your woman on the Sabbath, right? Because on the Sabbath, you're not supposed to make yourself unclean. And of all, like, let's say you're not supposed to cook on the Sabbath, right? We're not supposed to cook on the Sabbath. We're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, right? But sometimes you might cook on the Sabbath, man. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but it would be difficult to not kindle a fire and stuff like that. It's kind of difficult to not kindle a fire sometimes on the Sabbath. And maybe I'm not the person to say that, but I personally think that sometimes it is difficult to do that. And it would be difficult to never, ever work or do any kind of labor or anything on the Sabbath, right? But it's not as difficult to not deal with your woman on the Sabbath. You can just, for that one day, or if it goes the time where it goes 2 days in a row, where it's Sabbath, you can not deal with your woman on that and then deal with her afterwards, right? That's possible. That's possible. Verse 17, and every garment and every skin where is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and be unclean unto the evening. Now, all you women out there that you want to just be running through the streets and dealing with women and all that, and even let's say the men as well, right? That is not a custom that's commonly followed in this world, man. You got women out there that they'll wear the same clothes and deal with enough mans. You understand? And ain't clean their sheets at all. Right? And for anyone that's been to university and that, they already know how women get down in universities. And I'm not even on about personally that Dave did it. I'm on about how women just are in general. They would have heard the stories, the women ain't cleaning their bed. They ain't cleaning themselves, even. Never mind their sheets. They ain't cleaning themselves. Never mind their clothes. You know what I mean? They ain't doing that. Verse 18. The woman also with whom the man lie receive a copulation shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the evening. Now, do most women in this world even want to do that one? Do they even want to do that? You know what I mean? They want to try and always monitor what men do, but do they do even that one? You know what I mean? And even people might think, oh, nah, why are you mentioning that? Even that law right there, yeah, is something that would kind of hinder most people wanting to do this whole sleep around thing, man. Because that would mean that they'd be having, like, a lot of people get bothered by washing. And this might sound silly to some people's ears, but a lot of people find washing clothes and stuff like that to be a tedious chore, man. You know what I mean? And a lot of these women, if they knew that every single time they deal with a man, they're going to have to clean all the sheets and all this stuff, that would make them be like, you know what? I can't be bothered to keep doing that. If they knew that that was going to be something that's monitored and that's, you know what I mean? They wouldn't want to do that. And people might think, oh, nah, that's not true. But Yahweh put this as a law in the scriptures. There's a reason why he gave this as a law. There's a reason why. He knows that there's a deeper reason as to why this is done. And one of the reasons why I'm thinking as a man as to why that's in there is what I just said, right? But in the kingdom, we're going to know the true understanding of all these things anyway. We're going to have the law written in our minds perfectly, and we're going to understand all of these things, right? But as we're just starting to grow, get closer and closer to the kingdom anyway, we're starting to really see that the way how this world ran versus the way how the scriptures talk about are completely different, man. And we are even starting to look at the laws that are pertaining to women specifically, and we can be like, okay, I understand why the women are going to be given this amount of time off to do this and this amount of time off to do that. I can understand why. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 6, keep therefore, and verse 5, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as Yahweh my power commanded me, that you should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which I hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So the laws that we have are wise, right? And it shows our understanding. And when we're under the new covenant, it's going to be shown in its fullness, and these are going to be things that we're going to be keeping. We're going to keep all of these laws perfectly. And guess what, though? It's not only the Israelites that are going to keep these laws. It's only the Israelites that are going to keep them perfectly. But all you women out there that have got such a problem with the Israelite man having multiple wives, that's going to be something that all the other men of the other nations are going to follow too. That's going to be a law for the earth. That's not just going to be a thing, oh, the Israelite man wants multiple wives. But like, and there's going to be some Israelite women that are going to rebel in the kingdom and say, oh, I'm going to go and deal with Elam because they don't do the multiple wives thing. No, every single man on this earth is going to be given the ability to keep that law where a man can have multiple wives if they so choose. And it's not going to be whether their wife wants it to be kept or not. It's going to be if they want to do it. If they want to keep it, that's going to be up to them. Just like how the whole earth is going to be monitored according to all the laws in Leviticus 18. If the law says you can't sleep with a certain person, you're not allowed to do it. All men on the earth are going to be monitored according to the law of adultery. You're not allowed to do that. And if you do it, you're going to get the judgment according to it. All men are going to be made to follow the 10 commandments. You're not allowed to steal, murder, bear false witness, covet. You're not allowed to do none of that. And if you do it, you're going to be monitored. You're not allowed to eat pork. You're not allowed to eat shellfish. You're not allowed to mar the corners of your head and of your beard. You're not allowed to get shape-ups. Everyone's going to be monitored according to that. Everyone on the earth. Every single person, man. It's going to be illegal to get certain hairstyles in the kingdom of heaven. It's going to be illegal to have certain foods in your diet in the kingdom of heaven. It's going to be legal for a man to have multiple wives. It's going to be illegal for a woman to have multiple husbands. Alphabeting and rainbowing is going to be illegal in the kingdom of heaven. There ain't going to be nobody doing none of that alphabeting and rainbowing in the kingdom of heaven, man. That's not going to be happening. It's not going to be happening. That's going to be illegal. But some of the things that the world's got such a grievance with now are going to be things that their nation's going to follow as well. Because the law of the kingdom of heaven is going to be governed by the laws of Yahweh. Verse 7, for what nation is there so great, who have God so nigh unto them, as Yahweh our power is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great, that have statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law, which are set before you this day? The Israelites are going to have, let me go to this. Because everyone's got a problem with Yahweh's laws. You're going to be following them as well. You're worried about our law, and everyone wanted to be spiritual Israel so bad. Don't worry, man. All you nations, don't worry. You're going to get the chance to experience what we went through when we had to keep the laws and kept getting cursed. You're going to experience that for the rest of your nation's life. The thing that you said Israelites were so wicked because we couldn't keep all the laws in vile flesh, well, that's what you're going to go through. Because you're going to be made to have to keep the laws of Yahweh. But you're never going to have a new covenant to where you get changed like how we are going to get changed to be perfected. And when you break the laws, you're going to be cursed. According to Deuteronomy 30 and 7. And if you don't believe that that's what that scripture means, then please Give your explanation of Deuteronomy 30 and 7. Give what you think it means. Don't just scoff. Say what you think it means as well. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. Now, earlier today, I looked up on the internet, is there anywhere in the world that people keep the laws of the Bible? And I knew what the answer was going to be anyway, but the answer is no. But then you have to understand that there's people in this world that they claim that they're the Israelites, and they claim that, and people in this world, they accept that they are, but then they ain't even keeping the laws themselves perfectly. And then here's a deeper thing that I'm going to read, because it's not all about the law, which is an accusation that people like to try and put on the Israelites. Because I'm going to read this scripture, because let's say that the real actual Israelites are not keeping all the laws of the Bible right now, and some heathen nation is actually keeping the laws of Yahweh better than the actual seed of Israel. Does that mean that they get the covenant and that the actual Israelites don't get the covenant and the promise that was promised to their forefathers through the lineage? Does that mean that? Well, let's see what the scriptures say. Romans chapter 4 and verse 13. For the promise that he should be heir of the world was not to Abram or to his seed through the law, but through the righteousness of faith. So Abraham was told that his descendants were going to rule the earth, not because of no laws, because of a thing that he was just told, this is what's going to happen. Your seed are going to rule this earth. Your seed are, not everyone's, yours. Not your brother's seed, not Haran's seed, not Nahor's seed, yours, Abraham. Yeah? Abraham, your seed's going to rule it. And the people that I'm going to call your seed are not going to be your son Ishmael. They're not going to be the sons that you had with Keturah. They're going to be the sons that you had with Sarah. And then, even though your son Isaac, who's going to come through Sarah, even though he's going to have a twin brother, both of them sons are not going to be called your seed. I'm going to call the second born son, Jacob, your seed. And then even though all the people that are going to come from your son Jacob are all going to belong to the 12 tribes, even all of them are not going to be considered the seed that's of the same kind of seed how Abraham, you're called the seed, because among them there's going to be an elect, and through the elect getting blessed, because they have a similar faith to what Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are going to have, then the Israelites are going to be blessed through that. The Israelites end up getting blessed ultimately through Yahweh Shai, but it ends up coming through. It's going to end up coming through the elect of the nation of Israel, man, because that's who it's going to fall upon. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the elect of the nation of Israel. Verse 15, because the law work of wrath, for where there is no law, there is no transgression. Therefore it is of faith, that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed. So it's not about the law ultimately. The law is not the reason why the Israelites are going to get what they're going to get. It's because Yahweh promised it to them. And the faith that the Israelites have been given is going to make them repent. But people want to try and make out like, oh, the Israelites ain't got nothing blessed coming to them. That's corrupt. The Israelites have got so much coming to them that you've got Gentiles out here pretending that they're the Israelites. If the Israelites didn't have nothing to hope for, why would Christian churches be claiming that the church is Israel now? If there's nothing that Israel need, why wouldn't Christian churches that make everything else be able to be, you can just be whoever you are, but then according to their doctrine, you have to be spiritually Israel? Sounds like being an Israelite is very important to me. And it sounds like it's very important to them as well, because they lie about their doctrine and just try and make it like wherever it says Israel is going to receive something, that now it's talking about the church is going to receive it, which is a lie. Because it would say that if that's what it was talking about, wouldn't it? There'll be a literal scripture that says seed of Israel, and they'll say, yeah, that's talking about the church. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's talking about the seed of Israel, meaning people that come from the lineage of Israel. Israel started by a man called Israel, which really his name was Jacob initially. It didn't start by a church. Abraham started by the seed of Abraham started with a man called Abraham, who had a son, his first son Ishmael, but the seed that was the one that was accepted as being his seed in the Lord eyes of Yahweh was called Isaac. And that's all can be read in Romans, the 9th chapter. And it can be read in Psalm 105. Let me read verse 16 again. Therefore it is our faith that it might be by grace, to the end the promise might be sure to all the seed, not to that only which is of the law, but to that also which is of the faith of Abraham, who is the father of us all. Now, is Abraham literally the father of all the world? No. So you have to understand deeper that Romans 4 is a letter to Israelites in Rome. And Abraham is the father of all Israelites. He is. And it's letting you know in this verse that, okay, there's some Israelites that's keeping the law, but there's others that weren't keeping it. But ultimately, the promise was to every single one of us. The Messiah that came to die for the sins of the Israelites, he came to die for sins. So that means that everyone wasn't keeping the law anyway. Every Israelite really wasn't keeping the law. And it never said nowhere in the scriptures that, oh, because some Israelites didn't keep the law, or some Israelites were already keeping the law, that, oh, he died for your sins only now. No, he died for every sin, right? Every sin in Israelite, which is every Israelite. And if you're an Israelite that thinks that you ain't got no sins, good luck. I hope the chariot that you're making works. Yeah. I hope when you turn the keys in the ignition, yeah, that your chariot works, but it's not going to, is it? You don't have a chariot, dear. I know I don't have one. Some of us, Jakes, we don't even have cars, man. You know what I mean? Some of us don't even have a car, bro. Which ain't nothing to I'm not laughing at it like, oh, you ain't got a car. I ain't got a car. You know what I mean? And even if I did have one, like, so what? That don't make a difference neither. Like, whether you got a car, you don't have a car. I'm just making a point that a Jake might not have a car, so then they damn sure ain't got a chariot. And you might be in a place where you don't need a car. You might not need a car, man. So what? I'm just making a point. You know what I mean? I'm just making a point, man. We don't have our own chariot. The aircraft that you're going to need to get away from the day of the Lord's wrath can only be made by Yahweh through his son Yahweh Shai. Just like how nobody else was able to make an ark. There wasn't no secret ark during the flood. There wasn't somebody that was like, I saw Noah making that ark, and there's a secret documentary out there. I saw Noah making that ark, and I was just one of them people that wasn't scoffing, and I just knew that this man was serious. I seen him every day out there. He was telling the people it's going to rain, and I said, you know what? I'm going to copy his ark, but I'm going to make my own according to my own measurements. But I was smarter than him. I only put the clean animals in there because I knew I was going to eat everything, and I didn't want the dirty animals. That never happened. Only Noah and his family survived. Only Noah and his family was able to enter into that ark and survive, along with all the animals that Yahweh allowed to be put in there. And the rain came and took everything away and refreshed the earth. And when the Israelites of the elect get taken up into them chariots, the whole earth's not going to be destroyed, but America's going to be destroyed completely. But what's going to be happening everywhere else on the earth? What kind of purge-like world is going to be going on and taking place down on the earth? Some people are going to be so bugged out that they're going to think the earth's been rejected, and they might not even know, they don't understand certain of the prophecies. So they literally going to think that all the elect that are taken away ain't coming back. And they might be trying to bug out and try and fight, thinking, oh, we've got to fight for control over the rest. Mate, you ain't going to get control over nothing. That's just a little time off for us to be beating up in them chariots if we get the choice to be that we're going to be looking down, watching all the destruction taking place, man. Laughing. And you know what? Let me get the scripture on that. All the elect that's going to get beamed up in that time, they're going to be looking down on all you people bugging out, laughing at you. Revelation chapter 15 and verse 2, and I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory over the beast and over his image and over his charagma and over the number of his name stand on the sea of glass having the harps of God, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God. And you know what the song, you see when you read the song of Moses, that's all about the Israelites getting salvation anyway. When you read Deuteronomy chapter 32, but it really begins a bit earlier. Let me see. I think I got it highlighted. I know I got it highlighted in my actual Bible. Let me see if I got it. Okay, so the song really starts from like verse 30, Deuteronomy 31 and verse 30. That's where the song really begins, man. It really begins there. But Yahweh starts telling him about the song from here. Deuteronomy chapter 31 and verse 22. Moses therefore wrote this song the same day and taught it the children of Israel. But when you go down to verse 30, I mean, he starts to say, okay, and he's starting to sing the song in the words of the Israel, and then it goes into what the song is. And when you read it, which I will recommend doing, you'll find that the whole song is pretty much about the Israelites receiving salvation and judgment falling upon their enemies that thought that Yahweh had cast the Israelites off, but really he hadn't cast them off. And it asked the question, basically asked the question, how could such a great nation fall except their God and their rock had left them out, hung them out to dry pretty much? And says that only if the other nations understood their latter end, that they would have been wise to understand that Yahweh ain't forsaken them. And goes into how Yahweh didn't want the other nations to mock him, and that's one of the reasons also why he ends up having mercy on these people. He's going to have mercy on these people. Then we carry on reading this. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. And the ways are just and true because Yahweh is going to do exactly what he said he's going to do for the nation that he said he was going to do it to. In all regards, he said he was going to get rid of every single Edomite, according to Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18, and he's going to do it. He said he's going to make the Israelites be immortal, according to 1 Corinthians 15, according to Hebrews 8, Jeremiah 31, and he's going to do that. He said he's going to wipe away the tears from the eyes of Israel. He's going to do that. But everyone wants to try and make the scriptures that pertain to Israel that are good things be for everyone. But then they didn't want the curses that was specifically mentioned to the Israelites. They don't want them to be for everyone. You notice that they don't want the spiritual Israel to have to go through Deuteronomy 28, any of that stuff. But they want literal Israel to go through that, and literal Israel to have to keep all the commandments. But then spiritual Israel doesn't have to do none of that stuff and doesn't have to go through the curses and none of that, according to their ridiculous Christian doctrine, man. You Christians don't really understand the Bible, and this video wasn't initially even about that. It was ultimately going into how a lot of women are always worried about the laws to do with men, but they don't ever think about none of the laws that are in the Bible that actually would benefit and have mercy upon them. And I was reading one in Leviticus 15 where the woman's allowed a whole month off, right? A whole month off to be able to do what she wants to do, man. And the amount of days, I believe I calculated in my head as well as I was just thinking about that law again, and I believe it would be 84 days out of the year that a woman would be free to do whatever thing she wants to do, where she's away from her husband, right? 7 times 10 for 10 months, that's 70, and then add another 7, that's 77, add another 7, that's 84, right? And Salakia, if my maths wasn't that on point earlier, but I believe it's 84, man, and I can do it again afterwards to like make sure that I'm giving the right amount of number, but I believe it's 84 days out of every single year that a woman will be free to just do the things that she desires to do as long as she's away from her family for them 7 days, man. And why wouldn't a woman want that? Wouldn't that give you women a break from all the things that you complain that you don't like to do? Would it not do that? Wouldn't it give you some time off to deal with your own feminine emotions and whatever things you've got going on? Wouldn't it allow that? But a lot of the reason why you may not want that to happen is because you're too busy trying to monitor your man, and you would be worried about what he's doing with his other wives. But guess what though? That's none of your business. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not as hurtful as that might sound. You women should be worried about what you do when you're with your husband, not what another woman does when she's with him. Because a woman in the scriptures is allowed to a woman in the scriptures is allowed to be with another man that's got a wife already. And if a woman sees your man and she wants to be his wife, you shouldn't be trying to step up and be like, back off, biatch and all that. You should be leaving her alone. That's none of your business. You should be like, well, as long as it makes my husband happy, and I'm just going to worry about what I do with my husband. You shouldn't be worried about power that you're going to lose on control over him and all that. Because just like how you have your 7 days off where you're not around your husband no more, she'd have her 7 days off when she's not around him. And then that 7 days when she's not around him, guess what? You could be around him. You could be around him, couldn't you? And enjoy your time with your husband instead of worried about what some next woman's doing with him. And it's funny how us as men, we can understand these laws that pertain to women and understand certain reasons as to why women are allowed to do certain of these things. But why is it that you women can't understand why Yahweh wants us to have multiple wives? How comes you haven't sat down and really thought and pondered? Oh, I wonder why Yahweh says that men can have multiple wives. I wonder why it is that Yahweh put in his creation of men and said, you know what? This is something that I want him to be able to have. I wonder why. How comes you haven't did that? You've made plenty of videos talking about why you don't like it. But how comes you haven't made as many videos, or even a fraction, 10% of them amount, trying to understand why it is? Because I've made a video trying to understand right now. I've made a video right now trying to understand, okay, why is it that Yahweh gave the woman the 7 days off? And I understand the reasons why I can think of a man as why it would just be helpful for them to have that. Because women are bogged out in their mind a lot of the time, man. And I believe that one of the reasons why women in this world are so bogged out is because they are overly doing too much, man. But that's of their own begging for it. They begged for it and now they're bogging out from it. Getting on TikTok, crying on camera, crying because they can't find a man here, crying because they can't find a man there. But then doesn't the scripture say that a woman can have multiple wives? A man can have multiple husbands? I mean, see, that's Satan. A man can have multiple wives. So when you find a man out there that's of a high level that you think's a good amount, well, you should be able to approach that man and want to be his next wife. You should do that, but you wouldn't do that, even though you would try and do it on a slick demon way in this according to this world and be a side chick way. But you wouldn't want to do it in a righteous way. And that's another thing that proves that women are wicked. Because women are down to be a side chick to a rapper or something. But they're not prepared to be a second wife. To a rapper even. They don't even want to be a second wife to rappers some of the time in this world, some of the time. They want to be a second or third side chick. Fuck. You bug outs, man. But anyway, I ain't trying to make this video be on a bunning out women thing because there's more than enough videos out there. Man. I was just trying to do a video on how the women, like, they don't ever want to focus on a lot of these laws and think of it from a perspective of righteousness about how, oh, I wonder why Yahweh said that we're supposed to be put off for 7 days. And they don't ever want to think about the men thing and like, oh, I wonder why men can have multiple wives. They don't think about it like that. But we can view it from the things that the women have got. And like, okay, we understand if women had this, it would help them. And that's a further proof that men are supposed to rule, man. Not women. Men are supposed to rule. And that's why the scriptures say that the tabernacle of God is with men. Because men have got the righteousness in them to want to rule. Women don't go about really, for the most part, trying to make men's lives easier, especially not in the sense of the scriptures. Especially not. And they don't ever do hardly any videos trying to think about any of these things that the scriptures speak about in a positive light towards men. And the main one is that law on the multiple wives thing, man. They never want to think about why it is that Yahweh said that men can do that. They always trying to say, oh, it's only an option, you don't have to. But it's a thing that Yahweh said we can do. It's got nothing to do, none of your business. In fact, you know what? I'm getting annoyed now that I'm saying that, man. You men better worry about what you've got going on, man. Because we know that the scriptures say this about you, women. Isaiah chapter 3 and verse 16. Moreover, Yahweh saith, because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore Yahweh will smite with a scab the crown of the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and Yahweh will discover their secret parts. And because you women have not been getting put off for 7 days, right, in this world, and you've just been able to be given gallivanting extra days, a lot of your secrets are being exposed, man. TikTok's exposed a lot of your secrets. Social media, all these podcasts is exposed that you women are wicked, man. And then now it's made men not want to deal with you a lot. So then now most of you men are just managed being side chicks out here. Men don't look at you the same way no more. When a man's walking down the street and he's feeling good about himself and all that, and he might see one of you women looking at him in a lustful way, he might cross over the other side of the road, disgusted that a woman of your caliber thinks that you deserve to be with him. He might actually be disgusted, man. Or be like, well, I'll deal with her, but I'm gonna deal with her on my terms, and she's gonna be just a one-time thing, wham bam, and I'm dipping, and I'm gonna lie and say whatever I need to say to get her, and I'm out. But then women won't want to be a second wife. You know what I mean? But they'd think that that's a better alternative than it. Okay. And the multiple wife thing's got laws towards that anyway, to where men would need to have money and certain things to where they're even able to properly do that in its perfection. Which would mean that the men of a society are going to have more and more wealth naturally, because that's something that men naturally desire. So then the average man is going to be of a way higher caliber than what the average man in the world, where you just can, as long as you can lie to them and make them think you got certain things here and there and get them and then bounce, then you can play it that way. The men wouldn't really be what they say they are in a world like that, because the men get to keep the women that they deal with. It's not going to be a fake lie to the women as much as you can and then get what you want and then go. It's going to be the man actually really desires to have the woman forever as his wife, which isn't that better than the alternative of the society that we see right now? And isn't women getting put off for 7 days when they're unclean better than them going in the gym, all upon the abductor machine, all upon the adductor machine, all upon the treadmill, all upon the pec fly machine, all up in boxing classes, all up in hot yoga classes, doing star jumps on the yoga mat area? Like, isn't that gross? Sitting by the coffee machine, like sitting in the office on, like, isn't that gross? Sitting next to you on the train, isn't that more gross? Serving you coffee at the coffee shop, serving you your burger, serving you your pizza at a restaurant, whatever. Isn't that worse than what Yahweh said? But everyone's got a problem with Yahweh's laws though. Psalms chapter 19 and verse 7. The law of Yahweh is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahweh is pure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether. So don't complain about Yahweh's laws, none of you people out there, man. Because when we look at this world, this is worse than what Yahweh's laws is talking about in every regard. And us not being given the ability to be able to live under our laws that we've been given, that allow us to be the top of the earth, is really making us not only miss the authority that it means to rule, but miss the laws, man. We actually want to be under these laws right now, for many reasons, because it's a better alternative for starters, right? Excuse me, the laws of Yahweh is not even the alternative. All these other wicked ways are the alternative. The laws of Yahweh is the only way to really rule. And it's the reason why the Israelites are, in fact, let me get that. That the fact that we're going to be ruling under the laws of Yahweh is the reason why we're not going to fall as a kingdom, because that's the only way to really rule. Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So that's one of the reasons also why we desire to live under Yahweh's laws, because that's going to cause for us to have a continual, everlasting reign that's never going to end, because it's not going to be led by wickedness. Every single time a person tries to rule and they rule wickedly, the sand time is falling down on the end of their rule every single time. But that's not going to happen in the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is going to not have a sand timer. There's not going to be no end of it. It's going to be forever. And that's one reason why we desire Yahweh's laws, because we know that that's the way to rule forever. Plus, that is the only way that you can really live righteously. Plus, that causes for us to be under the blessings rather than the curses, which makes us be the top nation instead of the worst. And plus, it leads us to everlasting life and all these other things. There's many things, man. When you start talking about it, there's many things. It's a better way to rule. It's the best way to live. But people have got a problem with that. But it's the best way to live. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. Are people not mourning now? Men are mourning. Women are damn sure mourning. Edomites are even more. Even Edomites are mourning in this world. And they're ruling. They're ruling and they're even mourning, man. The man of sin. The man of sin is ruling right now in a wicked ass society like this. And he's even got complaints. He's complaining a lot. Everyone's got a grievance apart from a few select elites that they're thinking that they're going to get what they want. But everybody else is mourning. And I'm going to end the lesson there, man. This video has kind of gone way longer than the original topic that I started off. But yeah, It was 84 days that the woman ends up being unclean according to the law of menstruation. Just over a year period, 84 days. Right, and I'm going to end the lesson there. Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.